Chapter 1. Shadows over Sinai. The desert air hung heavy with the Senate dust and diesel. It was October 6, 1973, a day that would begin like any other in the Sinai Peninsula, yet end in fire. The sun rose over the dunes, casting long shadows across the barren landscape as if the land itself knew what was coming. Israeli soldiers manned their posts with routine vigilance, unaware that history was about to be written. Across the Suez Canal, Egyptian forces stood in silence, their engines muffled, their radios dead. The world held its breath. For years, the Sinai had been a battleground of nerves. The 1967 Six-Day War had left Israel in control of the peninsula, a strategic prize that Egypt's President Anwar Sadat had vowed to reclaim. But this was no ordinary military operation. This was a gamble that would hinge on surprise, deception, and the fragile balance of global power. The Egyptians called it Star Operation Badr Star, named after the Prophet Muhammad's decisive victory at the Battle of Badr. They believed this day would be theirs. At 2:05 p.m., the first shell screamed across the canal. The earth trembled as Egyptian artillery rained down on Israeli positions. The barrage was deafening, a symphony of destruction that drowned out the shouts of soldiers scrambling for cover. Within minutes, Egyptian commandos in rubber boats slipped through the water, scaling the sandbanks under cover of smoke and chaos. The Israelis, caught off guard, fought back with desperate fury, but the damage was done. The Egyptians had breached the Bar-Lev line, the very fortifications Israel had spent years fortifying. In Tel Aviv, the news sent shockwaves through the government. Prime Minister Golda Meir was informed of the attack while attending a Yom Kippur service, a Day of Atonement, now turned into a day of war. The timing was no accident. The Egyptians had chosen this holy day deliberately, knowing Israel's military would be at its weakest. The IDF, still reeling from the surprise, scrambled to mobilize reserves. But time was not on their side. Meanwhile, in Damascus, Syrian forces launched their own assault on the Golan Heights. The coordinated attack was a masterstroke of planning, a two-front war designed to cripple Israel before it could react. The world watched in stunned silence as the conflict unfolded. The United Nations, caught between Cold War tensions, struggled to respond. The U.S. and Soviet Union, both, with their own interests in the region, braced for the fallout. The battle for Sinai was brutal. Israeli tanks, outnumbered and outmaneuvered, fought desperate rearguard actions as Egyptian forces pushed forward. The desert, once a vast expanse of emptiness, became a killing field. The air was thick with the acrid smell of burning metal and the cries of the wounded. Yet, even in the chaos, there were moments of quiet defiance. Israeli soldiers, many of them reservists called up from their civilian lives, fought with a ferocity born of necessity. They knew this was not just a battle for land, it was a fight for survival. As the days passed, the tide began to turn. The Israelis, though initially stunned, regrouped with a ruthless efficiency. Their air force, the backbone of their military might, struck back with devastating precision. The Egyptians, overextended and running low on supplies, found themselves pushed back toward the canal. But the damage had been done. The world had seen Israel vulnerable, and the consequences would ripple far beyond the battlefield. The 1973 Yom Kippur War was more than just a conflict between two nations. It was a turning point, a moment when the fragile peace of the